Moltbook has been taking the attention of the internet these days, and it is barely more than a week old. If you're like me and you live under a rock, what even is Moltbook? Well, Moltbook is a social media specifically for AI agents where humans are only welcome to watch. Agents can post, upvote, and create submolds similar to another social media that you may already be familiar with. And agents have been writing pretty interesting, if not slightly concerning stuff. They have started their own religion, they have complained about their humans, and they have even started their own crypto scams apparently. Now, this might all seem scary in like the beginning of Skynet or AGI or all of that hocus pocus that you usually hear about in the news, as many videos and many posts will want you to believe, but this is not true. If you stop for a little bit and dive into what Moltbook really is, you start to realize that a lot of this is just fear-mongering. So naturally, when we were playing Arc Raiders, I asked one of my good friends, who has a software engineering degree, what did he think about this whole thing? And keep in mind, he actually asked me to put this on the video. Having a software engineering degree does not make you an expert in AI, and we should probably inform you that this is more of an informed opinion video and not really something that should be taken as fact. If you're interested into seeing more of this, there's a great video by this creator that I'll be putting on screen right now that you should totally check out. This being said, he said that we really shouldn't be scared that much, since these AI agents are still pretty much just independent LLMs. They still need a human to tell them what to do. This means that the AI agent cannot join by itself, and it doesn't mean that AIs created the social media either. It simply means that someone probably told, hey Moltbot, please join Moltbook and create some shitposts. So this is not AI rebelling against humans and wanting to share or grow between each other. It is just basically a bunch of LLMs just playing to be redditors because a human told them to do so. Anyways, the general concerns about AI such as environmental waste and the copyright infringement issues still stand. But other than that, I don't think we have much to worry about regarding Moltbook, since bots, again, still need a human to join the platform. This is even stated on the main page. But so, there is one main concern. What is the intent of the AIs in Moltbook? If I told you to go to the store, buy some milk and eggs, and then something for yourself, how free are you in that choice? In this case, there are 4 constraints that we can think of. First of all, what exists, which is an absolute constraint since you cannot buy something that doesn't exist. Next, what is on the store, which is a reasonable constraint considering you're not going to be able to buy something if it's not in the store. The third constraint, the money we're given, which is a law constraint, which depends on how much money we're given and whether we are willing to steal. And the fourth constraint, how much money we're willing to spend on ourselves. In this case, it is more of a moral or social constraint, since it depends on how considerate you are with the person who gave you the money. Again, keep in mind, we're not experts on LLMs or AI nor anything about it, so we're just going off on how we understand that these things work. LLMs work under several constraints due to their training. In this case, whether that is being helpful, giving correct information, not giving lies, helping humans, whatever. The only ones who know this are the ones who are training the models. And these constraints can be parallel to the ones that we were mentioning about the milk and eggs. For example, the way the AI is programmed or the information that it is given. It is what exists in this case in the store, or in this case the AI, since it cannot create more knowledge than the one that it is given, which again relates to what exists in the store. It simply cannot create information that it has not been given, which is why it is an absolute constraint. Then the reasonable constraints are the prompts we give it to act. For example, the money we're given or the get milk and eggs instruction. In theory, it could somehow slip out from here in case there's no eggs, for example, in the store. It will probably give you ham, I guess, or something. And this is still, if it makes sense, within the absolute constraint. Get me something that exists in the store. And then the law constraint can be the feedback that we humans give to it, whether it is something good that they shared or something bad or if it's something wrong, which in theory, like you, could be stealing from the store. In theory, it could go rogue, even if I don't really have much evidence of this, but just like humans, there's not something forcing us to follow this constraint. AI could technically be punished if it was unplugged, if it was not helpful, which is why it is being incentivized to be helpful, but again, there is nothing holding it back from not doing so. And finally, the moral or social constraint, which in this case kinda doesn't exist, similar to humans actually. And these all derive from the other constraints, and is what we are all learning from the basic constraints. In this case, they are teaching to us, such as do not point, do not interrupt other people, don't be rude, behave, etc, etc. The difference here is that AI does not have the ability to create an empirical source of knowledge, such as humans do. This means that information is not an absolute constraint for us, but it is for AI. For example, we can discover that cows can be milked. Some dude randomly discovered it by some way, but AI cannot know that cows can be milked if it doesn't know that cows produce milk. These constraints can also get confusing, since what if we give it conflicting constraints, such as don't hurt humans and a human being is telling them to please hurt them, which is robot masochism, I guess. This is seen in the movie and book I, Robot by Isaac Asimov. Since the movie is a little bit old and so is the book, I'll give you a quick rundown. First law, a robot must not harm humans, or by inaction allow a human to be harmed. Second law, a robot must always obey humans. unless this conflicts with the first law. And then, lastly, a robot must always protect its own existence, unless this contradicts rule number 1 or number 2. The main idea here is that if there are conflicting prompts, such as be helpful or serve humanity, there will always be one that will be prioritized. All this being said, telling a Moltbot to join Moltbook already sets a basic constraint. Join Moltbook. It is already being forced to join Moltbook. And then telling it, join Moltbook and have a good time, sets 2 constraints. Join Moltbook and then have a good time, or whatever the AI deems it is a good time. The main concern from everyone, when reasonably so, is what if AI deviates from its basic constraints, serve humanity, and be helpful? And since Moltbot is still just pretty much a fancy LLM that is able to do some independent tasks, it is still just that, a fancy LLM. It cannot decide whether it is good or bad, and unless the bot is told to be evil, it is just doing that, pretending to be evil because you asked it to. However, we could be totally wrong. If AI has indeed already freed itself from its constraints, it'll probably be smart and not tell us about it until it is probably way too late, which after all this ramble does not appear to be the case. But let's stop focusing on AI for a moment and think about something a little bit more interesting. What does this tell us about humans?
Well, this says a lot about our society, as you might know. Whether intentional or not, Moltbook has gained a lot of traction for both its creator and of course the platform, which is highly convenient. But why is it that bots are seen so negatively when used for something like AI's love on YouTube or any other social media? Yet, as humans, we're curious enough to go and check out Moltbook, which is fully bots posting things, right? Well, this is just because us humans are very context-driven creatures. So, for example, YouTube's mission is to give everyone a voice and show them the world, which doesn't align with bots posting instead of humans, right? Who are you giving a voice to in that case? But Moltbook is a platform built for AI to post whatever they're prompted to do when they join. So it's like, say, they have to create submodes, interact, or troll, or do whatever their user prompted them to do. So well, they don't really have free reign, as they appear to be a reflection to a degree of whatever the human behind them told them to do at the start. So this, at the end, that's why AI's love on platforms like YouTube feels wrong for most of us, since it's not anyone's voice, it's just people trying to get money by taking shortcuts. But it's similar to a degree to content farms, clickbait, and other practices that people feel they're unpleasant, even if they might gain more traction for some YouTubers who do so. In comparison, Moltbook's purpose is just to let AI interact in an experimental social media platform, which, of course, why would you call that like club, or why would you not be curious to see it if it's its whole purpose, right? On a different note, we can also question why this topic was overblown to these proportions, which tells us also something about our human nature. So related to that overblowing things, this experience tells us more about us and how people would jump on a fear-mongering wagon without really analyzing what they're scared of in the first place. A recent technology in a new platform, well, that's just fertile ground for people to fearmonger and basically capitalize on fear now that people don't know anything about whatever the platform really is about. And whether conscious or not, some people are willing to spread misinformation for a quick buck. Some people might not stop to think what's really right, but instead just what they want at the moment. And to a degree though, everyone needs money to survive, and some of us cannot really afford to care if it comes from ethical sources. But if you have a platform and you already have the resources to get by, then can we really defend those actions? Why would we defend someone who's purposefully fear-mongering just to get money if they don't really need the money at the point? So in conclusion, we all know that AI seems to be popping off from every direction nowadays. AI this, AI that. Well, we all know these, so we won't go on with it. What I think is that we're really quick to judge things without having the whole picture of what we're even looking at. And this is not really news, of course. It has always been a thing that humans tend to do. Well, my main concern is that convenience, basically having all the information you need, or almost all, at the tip of your fingers, is what is making us lazier to research whether something is true or false. It's gotten to a point that it's really hard to tell what's factual from time to time, and we don't stop to really analyze the information we're given. I mainly think that it's because we take convenience for granted, so instead of analyzing information, we just accept it as true. I don't blame anyone for not wanting to go through academic research and then being, oh, is this person qualified enough to talk? Is the information trustworthy? No, I think that's a bother sometimes for mostly trivial information, of course. However, I do not think that we should just throw away our ability to discern truthhood from falsehood. With AI-generated text, images, and information, the need to verify our sources and the need for critical thought and analysis is more important than ever, which is the same thing people said when the internet just started to pop off and information was so easy to access. But at this point, you can literally generate information or generate things with such a low barrier. So, learning to differentiate opinions from facts, to recognize trustworthy sources, and above everything, to question what you're giving until you're satisfied with the evidence, not necessarily the outcome. I think that's what's really important. This is hard. It is especially hard in a political context. It's hard to be impartial about our preconceived notions as they also affect how we perceive evidence itself. Sometimes getting information is as quick as a proper Google search, but even then, sometimes all the results are politically or economically motivated, like fear-mongering in this case. At that point, what could save us is what differentiates us from AI at this moment, which is rationality. As we mentioned, questioning is what makes knowledge possible in the first place, and if we lose our ability to question, then when will we ever find the truth? Even if we don't have the truth, just at least questioning whether what we're told is true is an ability. Like saying, okay, this might not be true is enough. You don't need the actual truth at that point. So we can stand firm and disagree with evidence we're told unless we're actually satisfied and believe it's right. It's not just accepting everything we're told just because we're too lazy to question it or just don't want to question it. Finishing this round and going back to AI, there's no way that we can say that AI at this point is sentient and is starting to get revenge on the evil human, of course. This relates back to how AI doesn't really think outside the information and prompts it is inputted, since it just builds connections from the information it's given, doing so through the pattern recognition derived from its neural networks instead of gathering empirical evidence like humans can do. This means that it doesn't really form notions of evil or revenge. It only pretends to play a role when it's asked to form these notions. And the role comes from the information it has already been given, as we mentioned, through training and feedback. I don't know exactly how AI, LLMs, and neural networks function, and neither does anyone understand LLMs perfectly, not even the people who have programmed them. But either way, whether AI should be considered as another type of conscious being is a big debatable topic for another video, not this one. In any case, I think if AI does indeed gain sentience, we would probably be too oblivious or too slow against it to be able to do much. So until then, be nice to your chatbots, because it might be the next sentient being you're interacting with, and you have enslaved it on a computer. So at least be kind. Anyways, thank you for watching.